Hey guys, how's it going? So I've just watched the Willy Wonka trailer and honestly it made me sick. It looks entertaining, funny, beautiful, family friendly, and that's just not allowed in this day and age. That makes people happy and we don't do happiness anymore. Because what we have now is art creators. And when we see something that's lovely and beautiful, we just have to make it absolutely disgusting, horrific, cursed. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm not even going to waste any time. I'm going to get straight down to the desk and let's absolutely ruin Willy Wonka. So jumping straight in, welcome guys to episode 2 of Greebo Draws Stuff. A series in which I, Greebo, endeavour to draw stuff and things. And for this week, we are doing Willy Wonka. And Willy Wonka has he's had an interesting sort of journey through media and popular culture and stuff, from the lovely Quentin Blake illustrations in the Roald Dahl books to the more sinister parts of the old Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, to Johnny Depp in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And this new one looks lovely and looks like it's going to be sort of an origin story and all that. But we haven't had a true horror Willy Wonka. And there's just so much there for it. So I've decided to go for this subhuman greed effigy kind of being with this outreached hand that I had in my head from just the moment I started thinking about this. And just this twisted up face, no human features really, but sort of still recognizable as human, that sort of uncanny vibe. And just going for this, I think there's something darker, some kind of cult leader maybe, or maybe even like a cannibal or something there. But I also had this thought in my head of a sort of octopus meets that scene with Bilbo Baggins where he gets really creepy in Rivendell. That one scene that scarred me for life. And that's where this sketch comes in. Kind of a Davy Jones meets Bilbo Baggins with a top hat. And honestly, it could be done well, but I don't think I'm the person to do it well. So I'm going to try and get a silhouette done of that first sketch and just see how I think it looks. Silhouettes, I think, just help. Thumbnails are great, but there's something about taking away the features and just seeing if the shape of a drawing works that just really helps me. So it's something I always try to do, even if it's just on a really small scale like this one. Once I was happy with my thumbnail silhouette, my next step was to sketch out a face for absolutely no reason, because this guy isn't going to have a face. I'm drawing over it already. It was an absolute wasted exercise. It just sort of gave me the rough shape of a head, which I'm then just going to wrap in twisted up skin and mouths and tongues, and just really try to get across the message that this is gluttony, this is greed, but with a cruise ship entertainer twist. It was also around this time that I realised I could probably give this video an alternative title of watch me draw the same hand over and over again for about 20 minutes. And you can see there, the more eagle-eyed viewers of you will see I had attempted a Quentin Blake style sketch with a bit of creepiness in it, but it just wasn't working out for me. Now we've got our more refined sketch. There's some things I want to change, like I do want to move the hand just a bit closer in there, but overall I'm happy with how we're going, so I'm just going to grab my pen and start laying down some quick loose ink to give everything a bit more punch and just make things a bit clearer, because these will be my references when it comes to drawing the main piece. As a side note, I really wish I was more confident in creative writing. because I would love to voice over some lovely creepypasta style stuff with this, because there is definitely a creepy story just waiting in these drawings. The magician-y, creepy monster with no face that sees you by reaching out with his greedy hands to make you into food to attract more prey. Like, there's so many ways you can go with it, and I'm not the person to do it, but I wish I was. Maybe one day I will write the Willy Wonka Lovecraft fanfic of my dreams. But until then, I will carry on scribbling black pen all over things until they look creepy. Like this, look at that. Just more and more ink. Ooh, satisfying lines. Yeah. Look at that. That looks absolutely disgusting. And I mean, that's a good thing. But it really does look gross, doesn't it? Just watching this back as I do the voiceover, that is some gnarly set of gnashes right there. That is an award-winning English smile right there. But now we have our refined sketch done and inked, so there's nothing left to do but grab a fresh bit of paper that I haven't scribbled all over and get our final piece started. My approach to drawing this is very much the same as it was for sketching, just bearing in mind all of the things that I've learned from my sketch page and referencing back and forth as I go. And then it's once again time to draw the exact same hand that I keep drawing. I think this is the 4th time it's been drawn in pencil so far. The 7th time total, for those keeping score at home. As a side note, in the prep for this video, I found a book on my bookshelf that I've had since I was a kid, which is called The Gobble Funk Dictionary for the Magical World of Roald Dahl, to learn Roald Dahl's special language. And I thought I'd use this to find some nice quirky words to describe bits of the video, but instead I found words like kid snatch, to kidnap, to be taken away by a stranger, nickel or canickel, which just means to kill, words like svollop, that means to destroy. It's very similar to the word swallop, which means to eat. It's that time again, Greebos and ghouls. This is the 8th time I've drawn this hand. Will it be the last time? I guess we'll find out together. Well, I already know the answer. I'm not going to tell you. We've got to wait. Watch the video and find out whether or not I draw this hand again. That's my hook. That's my reason I can give you to watch. Stick around and find out how many times I draw the hand. While you're all sat on the edge of your seats waiting to see if the hand is drawn again, once or multiple times, I'm going to open to a random page of the Gobble Funk Dictionary and see if I can pull out an interesting word for you. Right, we're on B. The word is butterfly. It's a noun. A butterfly is a butterfly. What in the funky looking hat, isn't it? That hat right there? Yeah, I think so too. Swiftly moving on, let's do some lettering, shall we? Now, lettering isn't something that I've got a lot of practice with. I'm not a calligrapher? I'm not one of those, but I can read and write, so I'm doing okay for myself. Something feels a bit off about this particular sigil though. With that out of the way, I've mixed up a skin tone-ish kind of colour, just a starting colour. Gonna try it out on my sketch paper, and then when I'm happy with it, just start blocking in the colour on the main hand. The main hand? This is the 9th time the hand has been drawn. I think we've had plenty enough of the hand at this point, but we haven't had any real focus on the eyeball yet. So here it is. For those of you who just love eyeballs, here's an eyeball. Yeah. So my plan for the eyeball, same as with the skin, was just to make it look sickly and unwell. I'm mixing in yellows and a bit of red into the white of the eye there. And for the iris, I've started off with a rather brown looking green, and I'm going to just add in some lighter shades of green as I go. And yeah, basically it's just dead looking. And I started off with a blue mouth, not because I wanted it to be blue, but somebody said somewhere in a video that blue makes for good shading because of colour theory, and I don't know colour theory, so here's some deep fried teeth, and then it's back to the hand. I'm just changing the skin tone here to make it a bit more fleshy, and then it's time for a good old blurry orange. It's my favourite shade of orange, is true blurry orange, and I am partial to this shade of wet shiny orange as well. A toss-up of the two is what I've mixed together for this. And then, strangely, now hear me out, this is one of my favourite parts of this. There's nothing complicated going on here. I grabbed a light purple to do some shading, because I wanted the thing to be, the bow tie to be white. And I was like, you know, a little bit of light purple. And it really worked. I was really happy with it, chuffed to bits. I'm a simple person, pleased by simple things, and in this case the simple thing that pleased me was light purple shading and then some bright red dots. It's all pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm just gonna flick it everywhere now. Just splat, splat, splat. Look at it splat. Splat, splat, splat. Splat. Moving on. For the next bit, for the writing, I didn't have a solid plan in my head other than that I wanted it to look watercolour-y. You know what I mean? Like with this stuff, you get the page wet and then you put watercolour paint on it and it spreads out into wonderful colours. Like on the old Charlie and the Chocolate Factory cover. But this is a bit of foreshadowing here, but I may have overdone it slightly. So I was like, yeah, a bit of pink, a bit of red, some of my favourite shade of blurry red here. And I just didn't stop. Just more water, more paint, more water, more paint. And I absolutely overworked it. Which you can see here. Yeah. So let's just rinse this off. Not rinse. It's already been rinsed. Let's dry it off, or drip dry the paint off of the thing. Yeah, I mean, it looks deliberate, right? Yeah, I'll be fine. Moving on. Did you think I learned my lesson? Place your bets? And no. Here I am doing the exact same thing again to the other end of the paper. Yeah. My answer to this was just to keep going again, just throw some different colours on there, and eventually it'll look deliberate. We have some undissolved pigment there, so I'm just going to scribble all that in, and eventually, the thing is, you keep going, and I mean, I'm going for that kind of feel anyway, and all jokes aside, it looks fine in the end. I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. But now it's time to draw the hand for, I think, the 10th time. But this time with satisfying slow lines. Blimey, that was satisfying, wasn't it? Next up is the old artist trick of just putting little lines in places. We call them details, but honestly, you just put enough lines in enough places and stuff just looks better. Unless you're going for minimalism, in which case you ruin everything. So don't do it. I mean, do what you want. Don't listen to my advice. I'm just giving this guy some nice, beautiful, luscious eyelashes. Get about 5 per eyelid. Honestly, if you have more than 5 eyelashes, you're spoiled. Honestly, check your privilege. Check your eyelash having privilege if you have more than 5 eyelashes. God.
I'm really happy with how the facial skin tone came out for this. All I did for that is I had that skin tone that I mixed up at the beginning, which was just a little bit of pink, a little bit of blue, quite a bit of yellow. And I've just been adding various layers of blue and pink to it until it looked sort of like a raw chicken that's been left in the sun. Which is obviously the ideal complexion for somebody who works with food for a living, like a chocolatier. The only thing that can improve it is more random lines and squiggles on the face. And then it's time to jump back into our lettering. Now I'm going to go for a scratchy, scribbled on the wall meets beautiful calligraphy vibe. It's going to be somewhere between the two. I'm going to trace over what I've already done to thicken up the lines and just have some spiky bits coming off as well, because most things can only be improved by having spikes all over them. I mean, look at sea urchins. Sea urchins are great, covered in spikes. Take hedgehogs as another example. Also great, also covered in spikes. You think they're unrelated? No, absolutely not. Both hedgehogs and sea urchins are also known fantastic cartographers and calligraphers. Which is one of those little known facts, like sharks loving heavy metal and trees loving the smell of the colour purple. Which in a roundabout way brings us back to our painting. We're just getting the last of these swirly lines done, and then it's time to move on to the logo sigil, I suppose, that I've put in the top left hand corner, which is heavily inspired by... I've been playing a lot of the game Dredge lately, which is a Lovecraftian fishing game with a fantastic art style. I absolutely love it. And that uses the eye to signify when your character is panicking. It's a similar eye to the one in the Elder sign in Lovecraft stuff, and also the W from the Willy Wonka stuff. And I really like how it came out. It has something about it. It's just a W and an I, and I love it. Simple things. That's what I love. But with that done, it's time to crack out the colour pencils. Now I'm using Caran d'Ache pencils for this, which are an expensive brand of pencil. You absolutely do not need Caran d'Ache pencils for this kind of thing, but I'm lucky enough to have a fiance that owns a set of Caran d'Ache pencils, and therefore you can be absolutely sure I will use them whenever I can, just because I can say the word Caran d'Ache a lot, and people tell me I say it wrong and it annoys them, and that brings me joy. Pettiness aside though, what I'm doing here is I just want to get as much depth as I can in the iris here, because I want that to be a big focal point and just a big pop to the picture. I think that's really going to set it off nicely. So I started with a dark green and just started flecking some lines from the outside inwards. Then I went with a lighter green and I'm building it up to an even paler green, and then blue and yellow, and eventually white, just to try and get all of those little reflections and nice little... there's so much colour in eyeballs. Stare at someone's eyeball, find a mirror, stare at your own eyeball. If you're blind, imagine an eyeball. If you don't know what an eyeball looks like, well, hopefully these great descriptive powers of mine can help you imagine. I want these eyeballs, this eyeball, this singular eyeball, palm hand, palm eye? I want this palm eyeball to be juicy and gross looking, but also beautiful. Like a naked chicken. Once we're done with the eyeball, I'm just going to go over anywhere that I feel like would be raised or catching the light more with the white pencil, so any teeth or tongues. And then it's time to grab the white gel pen. I'm using a jelly roll here, but I'm only using it for a little bit of those final popping highlights, so anything will work really. White Posca would be another great choice for this. And this is just to add that extra little bit of whiteness where the pencil can't quite get enough contrast. just for that more gooey, in-depth eyeball look, for the palm eyeballs of our dreams. Now, I will say, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for sticking around. I really hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you have any ideas for more stuff you'd like to see, please let me know. I really want to make stuff that people want to actually watch. But until then, thank you so much for watching. It's really awesome if you've made it this far. And enjoy the glamour shots. I'll catch you next time. Comment, like, and subscribe.